enterprise coordinators. We've got 14 schools. You will be hearing also from Laura Bush, who's also an enterprise coordinator in the BCP area. And hopefully we'll have another speaker, Kalian, on the call, although we are just kind of waiting on him at the minute. Today we're just going to give you, I'll do a little bit of kind of give you a bit of a setting the scene, if you want to say, around virtual work experience and the projects that we're looking to do. Laura, Kalian will then maybe talk about the platform, the Speakers for Schools platform, and then Laura will kind of discuss about what's next. So virtual kind of work experience, well, we know this is always difficult before. Oh, hello, Kaylin. Kaylin's here. Yeah. We know that work experience is always going to be a challenge even before COVID. And we also know it's for those who's not aware, obviously, that the work experience is linked to Gatsby Benchmark 6. And you could say that it's probably the lifeblood of the CEC program and the career strategy. We know that work experience has been long recognised as an important element of skills development and school to work kind of transitions for the young people, but then obviously COVID struck, which has meant that it's created unprecedented barriers to accessing the placements. In terms of the next slide, Laura, sorry. And just to give you a little bit of a quick kind of, there's some quotes here. In terms of home working is set to be more than doubled compared to pre-pandemic levels once the crisis is over. You know, why remote working will be the kind of the new normal, if you want to say, and how the world of work is potentially going to change forever and forever going forward. We know that the impact of COVID on businesses has meant many key sectors are facing economic challenges. The flexible working continues to evolve for employees, and schools obviously delivering recovery curriculums, and we're all reliant on these digital solutions to work. These obviously prompt many questions that we need to be asking employers, so how they can help us assure that every young person obviously continues to receive that quality careers guidance at a time probably more, you could argue, is more critical than ever in this kind of living memory at this minute. We know that 97% of employers regarding they carried out a survey in June that the CEC said that a lot of teachers and employers said that obviously virtual working will remain a significant feature of the way that we work. And so we're looking at where is the need. So we know in Dorset we've got many geographical and demographical challenges. You know, some areas are really rural, and obviously COVID has demonstrated the need to embrace digital skills. Although obviously young people learn from obviously the hands-on experience, we're not necessarily trying to replace that, but we know that online experience and encounters are going to be really valuable, and it's going to provide young people with the opportunities. The good news is that, you know, a lot of employees are telling us that in some cases the engagement has actually been higher than face-to-face encounters. So when we look at sorry, Laurie, just go back to the previous slide. Yeah, so in terms of just to look, these are Laura's kind of picture. So on here, these are all of our beneficiaries. So we've got the schools and the businesses and the students. So certainly for the schools, we know there's a need. We know that 80% of students who have one or more encounters with the employer are less likely to become NEET. We know that schools are looking at alternative ways for work experience as access to external visitors and employees have changed. We know that all schools are not allowing any visitors up until some at all until January 2021, and we don't know what that's going to look like going forward. In terms of from the employer's point of view, we know that the youth employment is increasing, and we know that a further 640,000 18 to 24-year-olds will be unemployed this year alone, and that was from a survey from the Resolution Foundation. So ensuring the employability skills and the skills gap for our industry is delivered to build the talent pipeline. For the students, we know if students receive one or more encounters with the world of work, it will significantly increase a young person's future earnings. Just moving on, Laura. So why? So we know obviously Gatsby benchmark 6. Every student should have first-hand experience of the workplace through work visits, shadowing, opportunities to explore career opportunities. The Department for Education, the careers guidance, it's statutory requirement now. We know that in all of the schools, and that's obviously the Gatsby benchmark kind of model that we're following. And all schools need to deliver a good, effective careers programme. In terms of Ofsted, we know for those that are on the call or the Careers and Inspirational Forum, Ofsted, they're really looking at the careers programs now in schools. I think there was an example of a previous school when they asked the careers leader, what alternative ways are you doing to ensure that all of your students are having work experience? So of course that would be virtual. Destinations, yeah, that's probably, we could spend another 2 hours on destinations, but we know that's important. We know we need to know where all of the students are going. And obviously in terms of the professional network, it's obviously going to expand expand employee networks. We know that youth unemployment is obviously one of the biggest barriers. And I know yesterday I was attending the youth employment webinar, and they did a survey. So we know from the student side of it, there was key things that come out of that, and students all said that they don't know what skills they have or they need. They cannot access work experience or networks, and of course they struggle with confidence and obviously mental health issues as well. And they do not think that there are any jobs out there for them. Now, that's really interesting, because of course we're doing as the Dorset Left, we're doing a big project, and I know some of you maybe have been managed to attend the LMI. So the LMI is a really important project. So of course we can advise schools, and we can see where the growth sectors are, we can see where the established sectors are, and of course the idea is we can get all of the businesses involved, and of course get support from you guys in the schools. Next one, sorry, Laura. In terms of why it's beneficial for employers, well, it's again the corporate social responsibility is definitely important. In terms of it promotes their organizations. Of course, they can show that what recruitment and opportunities that they've got within their business or industry. It definitely builds a talent pipeline. We know in Dorset it's an aging population, and there's going to be a massive kind of shortage of jobs. So it's really important that it's in the employer's best interest to upskill our kind of young students today. And you know, supporting young people in the community, yeah, it is a responsibility. We know that employers have a responsibility to ensure obviously all of our young people don't become kind of that lost generation, I guess, as they're all struggling in this economic climate. Just as another point, just to go on there, there's also a way, the new Kickstart scheme that we know that the government are also planning, which potentially is going to promote more opportunities. You know, we know that the government are going to be covering 25 hours on covering the minimum wage up to 25 hours. We know they're giving them incentives like £1,500 to support with other things and training and uniform and things like that. So again, we are hoping that this will really kind of increase the uptake in this and really get a kickstart, exactly what it says in the tin, I guess. Next slide, Laura, sorry. So in terms of why is it important for the student? Well, obviously we know the missed opportunities in schools. Certainly I've got children in probably some of the schools that you guys are working in, I guess. You know, we know that they've lost a lot of time in school. We know that their confidence is really low at the minute. Employability skills, that's again really key for, like I was mentioning before about the youth unemployment UK survey. But we also know, you know, employability skills, we know we did a survey back in June, and out of 5,000 teachers, they also agreed that 74% said that employability skills is now the most important skills to improve the prospects of post-pandemic for our young students, which is interesting because I think last year 62% agreed it was the attainment. So you can really see the shift and the really need for that employability skills, and of course the businesses will be coming on and they can really kind of support schools with that. So just that, I think that's enough for me. Hopefully I've just set the scene. I'm now going to pass you on to our Kalian, who will talk you through the Speakers for Schools platform. Please do use the chat, and of course we'll get back to you and answer any questions either after Kalian's finished or maybe a chance at the end.
Awesome. Thank you, Yannick. And hey, everyone, great to see you. I am Kaelan. I'm the Chief Customer Officer at Speakers for Schools, and it is awesome to get the opportunity to chat to you today about virtual work experience. Yannick has just covered loads of great reasons as to why this is so essential. So what I want to do over the next 15 minutes or so is wander you through who we are, what our offer is, and how it benefits you and your young people for schools, sixth forms, and FE colleges across the Dorset area. Julia on the chat has already set an amazing task, which is, how do we make sure that we can deliver a genuine, high quality, safeguarded virtual work experience? And together with BCB Council, Dorset Council, and indeed the Dorset LEP, we've been working together as a partnership to see how we can help craft our opportunities for the young people of Dorset. And hence, that's why I'm coming to speak to you today. So it's great to have the opportunity to come and share with you. All right, let me just share my screen because I want to walk you through a little bit of slides in order to make sure I can give you all the details you need so we can really make the most of this. So again, as Yannick mentioned, please keep your questions coming through the chat as they come through. I can see your questions in real time, so I'll make sure I adapt and answer all the things that you're coming up with. Let me talk a little bit about who we are, what we do, and then obviously what virtual work experience looks like in practice. Once I've covered this over the next 12 minutes, we'll then jump into answering all of your delicious questions if I haven't picked them up during. So do keep them coming so you can make sure this is really the best use of your time. So, hi, we're Speakers for Schools. We're a charity that's been operating for just over 10 years. We are funded by this gentleman here who runs a very nice hedge fund and supports 10 educational charities, including ourselves. Our main goal as a not-for-profit charity is to make sure that we're really leveling the playing field for young people. So we've got multiple programs that are supporting raising the aspirations of young people. We specifically work with 14, 19-year-olds today at every corner of the UK, including Dorset. And many of you our schools and colleges across Dorset are already on board with this for one or more of our programs, which is awesome. We have central values that really help guide what we do. So we really believe in that equal opportunities for all. So we specifically like to work with the highest needs schools and the highest needs students across all of your schools to make sure we really do balance and level the playing field for those young people. We're a not-for-profit charity, so all of the services that we offer are free for every school, sixth form and college. So we want to focus on impact, not on finance. So it's much more important for us to do the right thing together in order, other than kind of covering funding. And the last thing is we really do focus on customer service. So this can be a really scary time right now for many schools and colleges. So my team are on hand for every single school and college in the UK. There's a single consultant in my team that's there to help guide you at every single stage to make sure we can support you to get the most from us and obviously deliver the most for your young people. We're very conscious that as busy careers leaders, you've got 96,000 things on your plate. So we try and do as much of the heavy lifting as possible to make it easier for you to give the best opportunities to your young people. We were founded by Robert Peston, the ITV political editor, and he has set us the ambition of delivering 1 million work experiences a year in just 2 years' time. So as you can imagine, that's no small amount of work experiences that we're on track to do. So we've been going through a massive growth plan over this past year through COVID, very unusually, and indeed it's helped gear up our virtual work experience offer far quicker than it otherwise would have. Now, there are 4 services that we offer in total that are available to all of our schools. So our Inspiration Program, which is our network of 1,500 celebrities and senior leaders that are grounded across the UK, that go into schools up and down the UK to give really inspiring talks on resilience. That's all digital at the moment too. So we've got some great talks that are going on right now that you can offer out to your young people. We just had a great talk last week from NASA talking about their careers there. We have the special effects studio that deliver the Star Wars special effects, including The Mandalorian. There was a great session this week. You can access those for your young people at any time. And of course, it's a free service too. I will, of course, make sure that we give you a copy of these slides. Thank you, Al Wanton, in order to make sure we can get them to you. So that's inspiration. Our second program is work experience, which obviously we're here to talk much more about. So I'll come into that in just a smidge, but we're about making sure we can connect you guys as schools and colleges to our national and regional network of employers to deliver really meaningful experiences. And we are real stickler for quality to make sure we smash those Gatsby benchmarks, just like Yannick just mentioned. I'm very proud that 96% of all of our work experiences hit or exceed benchmark 5 and 6. So we really do work effortlessly. No, not effortlessly. It's not effortless. We make sure it's effortless for you. We work tirelessly in order to make sure that we really hit those benchmarks. We then have progression. So this is a brand new program that's launching in January, which is where we're going to take a stronger hand in helping your young people into their next step. So into higher education, apprenticeships, or early careers. So we'll work closer with you in order to make sure we bring more of those opportunities into your operation. And lastly, the youth card. So we hold the UK distribution rights for the European Youth Card. Think the kind of university student union card, but for those that are 12 to 25. So this has a valid form of ID. It is in lifestyle discounts and benefits to young people, but far more importantly, we're putting all of our programs in the palm of their hand so they can access our talks, our work experiences, and of course, any destination opportunities. So they're the programs that we have. Let's talk much more about experience, of course. Before I do, our CEO has put this out. We're growing at the speed of light right now. So obviously through COVID, it's been challenging for a million reasons. One of those is a lot of entities like ours are reducing or restructuring or sadly making redundancies. We're in a different boat. A year ago, we were 8 people. When I joined 67 days ago, I was employee number 16. I've now got 45 and we're on track for 80 in just 7 weeks' time. So we're growing tenfold in the space of a year to make sure we really have a strong and confident response to help you through COVID times. So we really are putting feet on the street, so to speak. Our head of the Southwest that looks after Dorset starts in just 2 weeks with her team that'll be physically located across the Southwest with regional knowledge to help work with you from them. So you've got me till then. Good. So let's think a lot more about experience and virtual work experience, which is why you're here, of course. So we've been running work experiences for about 4 years. Obviously, that's been physical for a long time, but we were really proud to launch our virtual work experience offering 2 weeks after lockdown in March. I mean, the first lockdown, of course. So we've had a huge amount of experience since then. We now work with 581 schools across the UK to deliver virtual work experience since that point, and just over 225 companies, namely the kind of national brands, which I'll come on to too. We've delivered just over 4,000 virtual work experiences just in October half term a couple of weeks ago. So we really have a huge amount of best practice and a strong operation in order to make sure we can really make it work. Let me go into how that works and obviously why that story works for you. So we've got a really connected employer network. So we work with a lot of real big brands that tend to attract young people. So Spotify, Google, Instagram, PwC, National Theatre. We work with a huge amount. I'll give you a little logo wall a little bit later to fill out with you. But we really do work an awful lot with a network so you don't have to. We bring our national employers. We're working with the LEP, BCP Council and Dorset Council to bring on regional employers that are from your locality. And indeed, you can add employers that you already have physical experiences with into the network too. So we can really make sure this is a single space. You gain a seamless management system from us. So we're very conscious that you guys have got a lot on your plate. So you don't need a heavy system to work with. So we plug this directly into your MIS system. We do that in a GDPR compliant way, in a fully safeguarded way. And indeed, all of our schools currently do so. And this allows us to automate a lot of your matchmaking. So you, within our platform and your personalized dashboard, can then connect all the great opportunities that are coming down to the students that really need them in an automated way. It also helps with their mission to make sure that young people can make very quick applications. And then, of course, we're hitting Gatsby benchmarks. So we really are supporting you to make sure that we're able to help hit those benchmarks and hopefully exceed the targets that you'll no doubt have. So our reach is quite strong. We work with lots of different types of schools at the moment. We're increasing our work with special education needs and disability schools. We're increasing our work with pupil referral units. We already work with a lot of sixth forms and FE colleges, UTCs, and every other kind of school that you could possibly find. We have just over 1,700 schools that are registered with us, 581 that are actively delivering virtual placements. They come in all shapes and sizes and are all over the UK as well. Obviously, our partnership with the Dorset LEP is to help make sure we can work closer with you. Now we're putting physical resources on the ground in order to make sure we'll be on top of that. So I can see there's some questions about funding and costs. Let me just kind of pick that one up, actually. So we are a free service. We gain all of our funding from our fundraising arm at the moment. We do have some commercial options in which some companies, namely the bigger brands, can get a fully managed service from us, and that helps us support the costs of the whole program. But let me be really, really clear. Our service is totally free for every college, school, young person, and every employer. We only charge customers that demand extra services from us when they want the luxury of doing so. So that's how we're currently funded. There's no costs that you as a school or college will ever incur with us. We've made the commitment that we're free for all for good in order to make sure you've got more confidence through this time. All right, let me just step back to the slides. I'm going to put more of your questions, of course. So our impact is really important to us. So we categorize your young people into very high, medium, and low needs. And that's based on a bunch of deprivation metrics in terms of ensuring that we can pick up free school meals, pupil premium, in some cases ethnicity, or other kind of areas of deprivation from across your school network. That helps us prioritize the highest need students for the best opportunities. And that's what you're seeing here. If you're a very high need student, you're 55% likely to get a placement with us when you make an application, in comparison to just 38% for those that are low. The vast majority of very high and high need students have never had a work experience with us before. Only 8% have. So we work really, really carefully with young people and yourselves to make sure they're ready for that work experience to get the absolute most out of it. We've got 4 different options in terms of how a young person can get an experience from us. So we do insight days and placements, obviously both physically and virtually. It will not shock you to know that physical isn't really going on right now. So let me focus on the virtual. Our virtual insight days are typically a kind of 10 till 5, or in some cases 4 till 8. Session, which is kind of like the buffet card of a business. So this is where they'll give presentations, they'll run surveys, they'll be interactive conversation with our live experiences. They're always live in terms of helping connect your young people to authentically with the employer to make sure they can really get that rich experience. Often it's a really good way for young people to demystify a career path or a sector for them, and they get a real taste of what's going on. We then have our virtual placements. So these are 3 or 5 days. And again, that'll be listed by the employer. And of course, they're a much longer experience. So we tend to focus much more on deeper skill-based activities. So where students might work on a project together, where they might learn and focus on something, and ultimately present something to the employer that then means that they do get feedback. So we are really smashing those benchmarks. We found going virtual a phenomenal exercise for us. Yannick mentioned this right at the top, but I really want to highlight it. We found that it's great accessibility. So, people who are in more rural communities, including across Dorset, or people who are, typically have more limited accessibility challenges like anxiety or dyslexia or confidence issues, tend to really prefer virtual. And it's been a brilliant way for brand new employers to reach out to locations they wouldn't have previously done. The second thing for us has been about scalability. So we can still provide a really high quality experience, but young people, we can have more of them, obviously in a virtual setting, because we can break out and there's no kind of physical limitations like going to a factory where you can only get so much. Likewise, there are many of our employers that have got quite high security checks for a physical placement that again are required virtually too. The last thing is it's really been a lot more engaging. So all of our student data before and after going from physical to virtual has increased. So young people, particularly those that are more shy, tend to feel they can ask questions in chat a little bit more because there's a digital barrier, and make sure they can interact overall in maybe a much deeper way. So it really has been quite terrific in terms of going virtual, but we want to offer both of them on plan. We host all of that within Google Classroom, so there's no requirement for you as a school to have any skills in that. We'll do all that heavy lifting for you. And again, through COVID times, different schools are managing these differently. So you may choose to have your young people be at home and use their own personal devices to engage with their work experience. Where they might have devices, obviously you can usually use in-school resources. So that can help with kind of COVID bubbles. Good. So I'm sure you'll have lots more questions on that, but I wanted to cover the first one that comes up every single time, which is safeguarding. So we are so impressed with how virtual has gone for us in terms of safeguarding, because it is arguably safer than a physical experience, mainly because we have a full audit trail. So of course we can see every single thing that happens in our virtual space that we host. So we have full control over that. What we allow is making sure that every single connection, conversation or otherwise is recorded and documented to make sure we've got a full history of everything that's going on. We also protect identities. So the young people and the employer have temporary accounts when they visit our our virtual space, meaning that no one can individually contact each other and there's no disclosure of any individuals that are there. So we really have a lot of control over that. And then as soon as the work experience is over, we take a flamethrower to it and everything is burnt and destroyed. So there's no residual data from the young person or a trace that they were ever there, other than the certificate that helps celebrate their achievement. There's no capability for one employer to reach out to one student at any time. Everything is open. We also have all of our employers and our young people sign our code of conduct, and we do a lot of enablement to make sure that we've got a lot of prevention in place for safeguarding. Things like a placement must have at least 5 students in it to every one employer at any one time. So again, there's none of that one-to-one contact. We are really proud of our safeguarding. It's passed every school test that we've been thrown at so far. So I'll accept your challenge if you've got more areas of safeguarding you'd like us to put in place. But we, of course, take on a lot of that activity. A couple more questions I can see coming up in the group. So to be clear, is it individual or group? That's coming from L1 to Walton. Thank you. So this is group-based virtual experiences, but your students will access it differently. So let's take an example. Like you have a year 10 cohort of 137 young people. They will have all of the opportunities on our work portal that you promote to them. So if you just want your careers policy this year to be out of term time or in a weird Thursday in March, or however you want to design time in order for young people to hit those benchmarks with you, we will make sure there's placements in those spaces. But young people ultimately select the one that fits for them. So for that same year 10 cohort of 137, it's not one employer that does all of them. You select multiple employers that fit for that time, and then indeed individual students will apply for those. So it could be that 137 young people in year 10 do 137 totally different work experiences, but they will be in a group with other schools across the UK or indeed across the region. The hours of the virtual placement day tend to vary. So thanks for that question, Michelle. That can be often 10 till 3. Sometimes we can do evening, sometimes it's afternoon. It's largely based on the employer. So when you register with us and you get your individual portal dashboard, you'll be able to select the ones with the hours that fit for what you're looking for. So we can make sure we pop that in place there. Good. So fully safeguarded, we'll make sure we put everything in place for you. So let's think about the cycle and how it works in a little bit more detail. So this kind of runs on a 6-week run. So you register with us, which you do on our website. We then plug in through your MIS system in order to make sure we can automate a lot of this work for you, and all of your data is in that portal in a safe and GDPR compliant way. So assuming that's happened, you then, what we do is work with companies in order to make sure we can create the opportunities for work experiences. So they then create those, they pop them on the portal, and that's where you pick them up. So you can see which ones are the opportunities that really fit for you. If you would just want to run everything in February half term or Easter or those 2 weeks in the summer like you always have, cool. If you want to pick something up specifically for March 24th to 26th in line with the LEPS guidance, great. You can pick whatever fits for you, and there'll be lots of choice in there. You then pick those policies and you promote them onto your young people, and you can do that with 2 clicks in our integrated portal. The young person then gets those adverts from you, and they then make the application process. So I can see Debbie is asking about that in more detail. Let me cover that now, Debbie. So we want to make sure the barrier to entry here is as low as possible. Young people are nervous enough right now without us putting too much in their way. So because we integrate with your MS, we already have a lot of their data, so they don't need to re-enter it. And then typically an employer would ask them 3 written questions for their application. You know, why are you passionate about this industry? What might you hope to gain from this work experience? And usually there's 2 or 3 sentences that come back from young people. It is a very light process. That's the whole thing. It is very rare that in our companies interview, less than 5% of our opportunities interview. And it's often when it's down to something security based. So indeed, it's a very low bar to entry. We trust you guys. Once the young person's made that very light application, it comes back to you as the careers lead. So you are able then to approve and look at those applications and make sure that that work experience is a good fit for that young person. You can write a covering note for the employer just to talk about any special cases or examples that young person needs, or you can just click it through. You obviously need to get the parental permission to do so. You're approving at that point. The company then selects all the successful candidates from across all the schools that might have submitted the applications, and then we equip the young people to make sure they're ready for their work placement that we fully host. So that's a little bit of a journey of how it goes. There's a lot more in there, but I'll wait for more of your questions. So why us? So we have a national network of employers. This sheet is already outdated because it says 210, and we are way ahead of that already. So we work with a lot of national employers, but also working with regional employers on the ground. So we'll manage all of that activity with them to coach absolutely fantastic content that's really engaging for young people. We've got very intuitive technology. So again, for you guys, the average careers lead spends just 13 minutes a week on our portal. So it is not heavy going in order to make all of this happen. We do a lot of the hard work for you. We're absolutely committed to social mobility. So obviously making sure that we are 45% more likely to give an opportunity to a higher need student than a lower need student. And of course, every school has a single point of contact with us. So you'll have a contact with us at every stage of the process to help make sure we can connect your young people to those great opportunities. And lastly is around our data. So again, not only are you going to get to see who's impacted or had which outcomes, but we'll give you impact reporting for the longer term. So we can see what are the destinations of those young people a couple of years from now, once they've left your institution and have gone on to employment or further education. So these are some of the employers that we already work with. And again, this is already fairly outdated because we have a lot more that are joining all of the time. At the moment, we've got about 60 employers a week that are joining our organization and listing our propositions with us because we're making it very easy for them to do so as well. So again, I can see a great question from Francis here about checking what employers we have across certain industries. I love this question. So we have a lot across STEM, but we also have a lot in creative arts. So we work with Spotify, MediaCom, BBC. There's loads of organizations that we work with creatively. We also work with a lot of artists. So again, there can be artistic and creative virtual work experiences too, where an employer may well ship out art materials for a young person to sculpt something at home and then present that back to an artist for evaluation. We've got a real spread of different sectors on there. So I'm really conscious, I'm really confident, Francis, that we'd be able to make sure there's something a fit for every single young person. That's our goal, to make sure that it matches with our aspiration. So for us, you just need to head to our website. Simple as that. Now, Mark did say this at the top of the chat. Our website is down today for some maintenance. A few of our schools have asked for a few little changes, and we really want to put those in place. So we're doing that today. So keep the web address and make sure you register over the coming weeks. Likewise, keep a check-in with your enterprise coordinator over at the Dorset Lab in order to make sure you're keeping them up to date too. So that's everything I wanted to cover. I would love to dive into more of your questions. Yannick or Laura, are you able to kind of pick up any questions that I've missed?
Hi, Kaelian. Yeah, just one an interesting one there regarding the schools kind of SIMS or MIS system. Sorry. So I know obviously is it essential that they have to use that, because I know that there's some kind of GDPR potential GDPR issues, and I know obviously a lot of schools as well. It's very similar to with the onboarding for Compass Plus. Have you got any kind of thoughts around that?
Yes, so we are fully GDPR compliant. There definitely wouldn't be 1,700 schools that were already on with us if we weren't. So we work very carefully to make sure all the safeguarding's in place. We do have some additional assets that we can share with you to help, onboard your SLT or whoever looks after your MIS system with some of the key questions that they're going to have that they want to gain access to. We do ask that all schools integrate with us. There are some colleges that can't. So, some of the college MIS systems are a little bit trickier to integrate, as no doubt they'll have found with Compass Plus. So indeed, there is a way to kind of manually work with us. The challenge with that is kind of your time. So whether you integrate with us or you come through our manual view, you have to retype all of that information because we still need it in order to support work experiences. So often it's about saving your time, making sure it's accurate and timely information. So we've got all of the safeguarding and GDPR compliance across that. And again, we can give more information to help make sure you can take the rest of your school with you.
Okay, I think there's another one from Debbie as well, sorry, on here in terms of, so you collect data, student data. Does this need parental consent? You hold the data for how long? You mentioned obviously being able to track destinations. You feed that back to us how often?
Yes, loads of questions in there. Really good ones, Debbie. Thank you. So we don't need parental consent to capture the student's data. You are providing that, and in line with the student's connection with your school, you already have or will often have the privacy policies in place to allow you to share that data. And we haven't come across a school that doesn't. We obviously keep that data for as long as it's operationally required. So from a GDPR point of view, we run under legitimate interest there. If you're a GDPR nut like I am, and to make sure that we're fully safeguarded, and we only use it for the operation. Young people have to positively opt in for any kind of additional communications like promoting open days, etc. We will feedback on destinations every year once we capture some data that's integrated with UCAS, apprenticeships and the world of work. So you'll always be able to see what's going on and what outcomes are happening, but impact reporting happens every year.
Cool. And Kaylin, can I just ask one question? Sorry, with regards to. Oh, sorry. Do you know what? My trailer of thought has gone. I'll come back to you.
That's all right. Were there any other questions that had kind of popped up that you saw, Yannick?
Sorry, no, no, sorry, not that I can say. I think you've covered most of them. Sorry, yeah, my question was, sorry, I've just come back to you. Just in terms of just to confirm, I know obviously from when we sent out an expression of interest for all of the schools, and it's great to have all of them back, and obviously a lot of them were really interested in the platform. But can you just make sure, obviously, in terms of, there's a little bit of confusion if you were registered. So just to clarify, it is a separate platform from the actual Speakers for School, because I just don't want to get that mixed up. And if they think that they've registered, for example, for the work experience platform, actually they might have been registered for the Speakers for School element of your program. They are different.
They are, for sure, yes. So the only way that schools can work with us is pop into our website. You fill in a quick form. It takes like 96 seconds. And then we will be in touch with you in order to integrate and to give you kind of other kind of tool sets. As soon as you've done that, we send a request through to your MIS team to integrate directly with your MIS system. So usually you have to give them a heads up, otherwise it'll come out of the blue for them. So indeed, we again can give you some policies on that. And Laura's already said that that she'll collate the ones from us and make sure they're shared with you openly, which we're very happy to do. Your MIS person will get an email. They click one button on there and it'll instantly integrate all of the MIS system into our platform through a third party called Wonde, WONDE. So again, many schools are already registered with Wonde and it just kind of clicks straight through. That's it. We then drop out to you your kind of login details for your personalized portal. So this is when you can then see all of your student data, see all of the work placements that are coming through, and then you can pick stuff that then fits. So again, you might see a great construction opportunity with Balfour Beatty that is in February half term that fits with your policy. So you can click that and send it directly to your year 10 construction group, because however it's being constructed in your MIS system will appear here. So you go click, click, done. And then all of those young people are going to get that opportunity. So that's exactly how it works. You keep control, but that's the kind of stages of how we get involved. I see that Francis is asking about, can students register before integration with the MIS? They can, but they can't get very far in the application process because we need you as the school in order to kind of say that you've got the parental permission to authorize it. So indeed, if a student registers with us directly, we just come to you and say you need to register in order to let that kid do their work experience.
Great. Cheers, Kayla. I'm just conscious of time, and please do keep all of the questions coming in. I know Laura's going to be speaking next, which may answer some of your questions. And if not, we'll maybe have a bit of time at the end to go through them again.
Thank you, Yannick, and thank you, Kaylin. Again, another really amazing suit. So thank you very much. Let me start my video actually, because I've just realised I've still got that turned off. So yeah, I mean, we've still got lots of questions actually to ask, but if I could go through kind of the logistics of what we were planning with our sort of very specific project, and that will hopefully answer some of the questions, and then you know, obviously then we can answer whatever's left, because obviously myself and Catherine don't have a very good track record of keeping to time, so we would like to try to today if possible. So hopefully listening to Yannick and Kaylin, that's going to have given you an idea of what could be achieved through linking with Speakers for Schools and using their platform. Hopefully it's come across as well that actually it's a very flexible platform and you can use it in whatever way would suit you. I mean, what we're looking at is obviously quite a specific pilot. So we're trying to look at a more structured program because we want to be able to steer the schools to particular dates and employers to particular dates. But if that doesn't work for you, then that's really important to know that actually you could use the platform as you see fit, and we would want to support that as much as possible. So what are we asking for then? Well, we're asking employers to offer a 3-day program. Ideally, the hours need to cover at least a general school day, so 9 till 3. But it can be more if that fits with the business. But we would like to have that as a minimum. We're asking employers to consider offering opportunities for around 30 students. We just think this is quite a nice number, but again, it's flexible. So the absolute minimum for them to take on is 5 for safeguarding purposes. So there's never kind of a one-on-one between the employer and the student. But as Kaylin said to our employers a couple of weeks ago, they could go up to 500 if they wanted to. We probably wouldn't recommend that because we obviously want to ensure that it's a really quality and engaging activity. But do you know what? If they said, well, no, it's got to be all hands on deck and we can offer 500 and we've got lots of colleagues on board to make it really engaging and really interactive, then, then we could help them look at that. So as I've mentioned, the program, it does need to be interactive. It needs to give students a chance to meet numerous people across the business. So the companies need to get their colleagues involved, or perhaps if they're a smaller organization, it could be their supply chain, or perhaps partner with another company. And it's really important to us that we don't want students to be sat at a computer watching videos or presentations all day. So you can see there on the screen, we're really looking for them to be able to offer project and activity work. There's really got to be that chance for engagement and interactions. And importantly, students should be getting feedback on their interactions and their project work as well, so they know how they're doing. So when we first started talking about virtual work experience, it can be quite difficult to think, well, what is it actually going to look like? It's at the end of the day, hopefully we've got this message across that it's flexible, and employers can actually, use the platform and create their own timetable. I mean, a typical day could look something like this that's on the screen now. So, there could be welcome sessions, giving people an overview of the business, introducing the learning outcomes for the day, and then they could get them working on projects together, doing a bit of teamwork. Could throw in a few videos or demonstrations, some Q&A sessions with colleagues, get the students asking lots of questions. There is so much flexibility. And the good thing is that, one of the highlights for employers is that they can make it personalized to them. So they can make sure it fits their business. It can give a good overview of what their business is about, and can also meet their goals as well. And for students, it's giving them that taste of working from home, and using technology at home, improving their digital skills, potentially using different pieces of software. So, we've got Jackie on the call today from Dorset NHS, and, they were the real pilot here for us, and they were able to offer experiences over half term. And Jackie's already said in the chat, but the feedback that we've had is just so positive. And I know Jackie has said, it's been a fairly intense process on her part, because she actually offered sort of 4 different insight days in a short space of time. But actually, it was a really worthwhile experience for the employers and the young people. And actually, for the employer, where else would they have that opportunity to engage so many students, in a short period of time? So that is one of the benefits here. So there's been some questions about the dates. And like I said, because this is a pilot for us, we're trying to do it quite structured, so that we have somewhere to steer the schools towards and somewhere to steer the employers towards, rather than it kind of being just a free for all, which would be very difficult for us to keep sort of coordinating. So we have spoken to a couple of schools, one in BCP and one in Dorset, about a potential pilot in April. And then we've looked at these other 2 dates, which we'll be offering out to all of the schools, and you can pick option 1 or option 2. So, thank you to those of you that are on the call that completed our expression of interest forms, because what we've done is we've reviewed all of those and analysed the data. And, these were the dates that we came across that seemed to fit the highest percentage of requirements. And apologies, because we appreciate it's not one size fits all, and we know that some people might not be able to engage with these particular dates. But then what we would be hoping with is that you could use the platform at another time, or perhaps on a more of an ad hoc basis. So initially, we do want to offer this to year 10 students, and that's where we feel that the greatest need is, and for this year is potentially the most challenging to facilitate. So that's where we really wanted to kind of step in and offer our support. And the employers have been given these dates, and they can engage with just one if they want to, or they could offer it for all 3. The beauty of the virtual program is that actually once they've got that in place, it's quite easy then for them to reproduce, as long as they get all their colleagues on board and their colleagues are available. It can be quite simple for them. So this just gives you a very basic idea of the timescales, what we're hoping to achieve and when. So this term is obviously mainly about the promotion, the sort of the initial sign-ups from you guys, the schools, and getting the message out there to employers as well. So in the spring, then it's all going to be about the application process, introducing it to students, program design with the employers, employers looking at all of the applications from young people. As I said in the chat, we are going to be monitoring for any gaps. So for example, if there's not enough placements on particular dates, or if there's not enough representation from a particular sector to meet the demand, that's what we're continually going to be looking at. And then in the summer, it's going to be all go for the placements themselves. So we're going to be collecting feedback afterwards as well from the stakeholders, and then we can look at how we can run this next year. And we'd very much be looking at a blended approach next year. So some virtual placements and some physical as well, because virtual isn't for everybody. And actually, it's so important for young people to have an experience of a physical workplace as well. So that's why, hopefully we're going to be looking at that blended approach. So what next then for all of our stakeholders? Okay, so for schools, we would really need you to confirm your interest in this before Christmas. Okay, so early December if you can, but definitely before the Christmas break. So register with Speakers for Schools on that link. Give us an indication of the date option you want to go for and the estimated number of students. And if you have an idea of the areas that you're interested in. So, if you've already done kind of a survey with them and found out their sort of intended destinations, if you've had careers appointments and careers advisors can feed back on their interests, let us know as much information as possible, because it really does help. And we know that this project, as it stands, isn't going to fit every student, and that might be for a multitude of reasons. So it could be limited digital access. It could be that it's not going to be suitable for all young people with SEND. It might be sort of behaviour as well and engagement. And that's just a couple of potential barriers there. So we are looking at alternatives, and we're really keen to be able to offer something that does meet the needs of as many students as possible. And also it's important to highlight here that you may already have plans for your students. We're not here to take over or replace those plans that you might already have for sort of work experience or an experience of the workplace. We just want to offer you something in addition, something that's really going to benefit your students and your young people. And at the end of the day, this project has to work for you, and that's why we're doing it. So, you know, if you want to use this platform on more of an ad hoc basis, please do. And in actual fact, we think that would work really well with perhaps sixth form students or post-16 students. Sort of on another side of it, if you feel that you couldn't sign up for the full 3 days, so because we know that there's going to be difficulty getting young people off of timetable, if you think, well, actually we'd really like to do this, but perhaps 1 day for the whole year group, again, let us know, because we just want this project to work for you and your young people. So there is that flexibility there, and hopefully that message has come across today. What next for employers? So we're encouraging them to sign up for Speakers for Schools by Christmas, the same as you, because that does just give us the time then to assess any gaps and assess the opportunities we've already got. But we are going to be in a state of continual recruitment and promotion. So and that's also where you could help as well. So if you do have any chats with employers, or if you have a strong employer network that perhaps you always sort of go back to for work experience, or they're lined up for mock interviews, or they come in for their careers fairs, if you could mention this to them and say, look, we would like to get all of our students out on work experience for these particular dates, consider signing up for this platform. We can help support them in that as well. So any help you could give us would be amazing, and we can answer any questions, so just pass them over to us. And what next to the young people then? So what we would foresee is that perhaps they could be introduced to the programme maybe sort of January, February time, just so they know what to expect and what's coming. And then ideally, we would like to facilitate those applications by around March, April time. So to give us enough time for the employers to post their adverts, because that's something that we don't want as well, is students to hurry and quickly register on the platform and for the adverts not to be there yet. So that's also something that we need to manage. And we know that there is probably going to be gaps, and that's why there's this kind of continual recruitment and for us to be working at. So just keep in touch with us, really, and we will hopefully have an overview of what's going on. So we'll have hopefully a super user account, so we won't be able to obviously see student details, but we'll be able to see kind of the applications, the interest, the opportunities from employers, and that's going to help us manage it as well. So here's our contact details of the people that have been here today. There's a team of people that are here to help. As Kaylin's mentioned, they've been recruiting massively. We are going to have additional contacts at Speakers for Schools to help us. We've got our colleagues at BCP Council, Dorset Council, our Dorset LEP colleagues. They're all in on this as well, supporting. We've also partnered with Young Chamber, and they're going to help us from the employer promotion side of things and recruitment, and we're going to be able to support their members in joining this platform. And I think really what matters to us most is supporting that link between the young people and the employers, hopefully providing them with an opportunity that they might not have been able to have this year otherwise. And that's really, really what it's about. So just looking at the time, and I'm really pleased that we've still got some time left, because I appreciate I've been seeing the chat go crazy and I haven't been able to look at it, so apologies. But could we have a bit of a Q&A session? Yannick, do you feel like there's anything that myself, Kaylin, or you could answer on there?
Yeah, no, I think Kaylin's covered. He's done really well, Kaylin. So he's covered most of it in there. Just a couple. I think there was some questions about the parental consent forms.
Okay.
Good question, because whether it's something like the school will have to do, or the template, or is it something that Speakers for Schools have already got in place that they can send out? There's really.
Sorry, do you mind if I pick that one up?
Yeah, sure.
So that isn't something that we can help you with, mainly because every school does it a little bit different. But it may well be that the LEP or one of you as a school have done one as best practice that we can share.
Yeah, and certainly just liaise with, like say, myself, Laura, or your EC as well. I can definitely help with that. Yeah, just obviously Jackie raised that, like I think they've seen it in the comments there. 170 students. They delivered the virtual work experience. 170 students over the 3 days, and great feedback from all of the students as well, which was really positive. I think you might have mentioned, I think Debbie had another one. Would you, are you able to get reports regarding attendance so they can check and monitor like students' attendance and things like that? And I think there was another one as well. Obviously, Steve had a great point. I think you answered about the rule. I would like to pick that up as well, because that is certainly one of the benefits. We know in lots of schools have got, you know, there's different opportunities and different challenges, particularly if you're you know, in rural areas. But for example, you know, the opportunities like a work placement may not necessarily be the case because they can't travel to, say, Poole or Bournemouth, where a lot of the businesses are. But of course, this is a really good opportunity for all schools to get involved. So that's really, really positive. And then there was one more just for year nines, is potentially could year nines participate?
Yeah, so there's loads of ground you covered there. So I think I put some of the stuff in the chat, but let me kind of pull out some of the real key points. So, you know, Laura's just walked you through the kind of pilot and what we'd really love to do together as a focus project. And we really encourage you to kind of think about those dates and think about year 10s in specifically. But as soon as you kind of register with us, you can get whatever you want from us. So it's kind of like taking the lid off the cookie jar. You can just like stuff your face with delicious cookies that are in there, and they're all in different sizes and flavors. So if you want year 9s, 10s, 11s, 12s, 13s, that's up to you. If you want any particular date, time, or format, that's up to you. So one of the real powers here is we're trying to keep it very flexible, because all of you, even across Dorset, will have entirely different needs and different ways in which you want to deliver work experience to your young people. So yeah, you can fill your face with as much of the good stuff that's on our platform as soon as you're there, but we definitely do encourage you to think about some of the focus dates that the LEP have mentioned. Part of the benefit for those dates for you is we'll have more regional employers that are available at those times, whereas other times it might be more of our national companies. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but of course young people often like a bit of choice, because sometimes they'll want to stay within their local region and we want to retain that talent within the LEP area. Sometimes they want their eyes open to something awesome that's completely out of usual kilter. Rural is really important to us as well. We work very carefully with Cumbria Lab at the moment. So we're delivering just over 3,000 work experiences to the 42 schools that are in the Cumbria Lab over the next couple of months. And indeed, they are obviously a very rural location, and it's come up with a whole host of additional challenges. But more than anything, we've been able to deliver GCHQ, NHS, Spotify, Instagram, and other kind of major brands into a location that those companies would have never reached before. So we really love it. And I think even after COVID's over and we go back to physical, virtual will still be here for the long term. And we'll end up with more of a hybrid approach of work experience from here on in. Back to you, Yannick.
Yeah, no, thanks, Kaylin. And I just want to like say reiterate as well. It is, you know, we're not coming in here. It's not something that we're just trying to sell or promise you the world. It is early days, and you know, we probably do anticipate, you know, maybe next year that will have full impact. And there's lots of businesses and lots of schools on board. And I think at the minute, myself and Laura and Kaylin obviously are working on trying to get this obviously off the ground. And certainly, you know, from your own contacts as well, that all of the schools have got your own contacts as well with employers. This just could be a really good opportunity to all kind of, you know, one-stop kind of place, if you want to say that. We can all kind of work on this together, you know, and really get it off the ground. So please do, like I say, keep in contact. Any questions, just speak to Kaylin with it. You know, you've got contact details there. Myself and Laura are always on hand as well, just answer any other questions. And I really, yeah, thank you very much for your time. Is there anything else, Laura? Sorry, from you?
I think that's everything. I mean, I'll comb through the chat after the event, but yeah, just a massive thank you to everyone for attending, and a massive thank you to Kaylin as well for giving up his time and talking so passionately about the platform and making it kind of easily understandable as well, because virtual work experience is new to all of us, and they're kind of making it that much more accessible, which is fantastic.
And it's free. And it's free.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.